James,
Yeah,
I've never seen a Star Wars film.
I know, and that blows my mind. It's still something I find really just weird, to be
Why?
honest. Like, well, considering, I mean, considering what I know of you, like over the years, I've known you, like you never. I mean, you don't strike me as somebody who's really interested in science fiction that much, but it's still like a massive like cultural thing, and I'm just surprised you've never seen it.
There's
It's
like
just
a
odd.
bunch of films like that sort of pass me by.
Hmm.
Like Rocky, I don't think I've seen a Rocky film all the way through.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'll try to think of other big ones along the same lines, but I can't. I mean, Back to the Future, I'd seen that a million times growing up, like over and over and over again. We watched Back to the Future, and it's not. I suppose like my parents didn't watch it, my older brother didn't watch it, Star Wars that is, and
Yeah.
so it was never in the house. Like we never watched it, and then by the time you get to school and that everyone's talking about Star Wars. I mean, it wasn't there through... I don't remember people talking about it through, like, my first school or my second school or even my third. It wasn't until college that I sort of become aware of, like, Star Wars for people of our age. Because, obviously, like, you watch The Simpsons and they reference it all the time. You watch anything with comedy, like, comedy-based, and at some point there's some sort of Star Wars reference in there.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until college, I guess, that... I came across like proper Star Wars fans that were my age.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay. And then by that point, I guess I thought it was too late. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
I've never sat there and thought, oh, Star Wars is shit. You know, like, I've always taken the piss out of Star Wars fans because it's easy.
Yeah.
But it's never been something that I've sort of snubbed or turned my nose up to.
See, I think probably part of it is because like when you were at like school or whatever, that would have been like 90s, wouldn't it? Like mostly.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. So I was born in '84. So
Yeah.
So it would have been '90s.
So because what I'm thinking, because like that was the period when there was like not much like from Star Wars really at that time. It was pretty like it wasn't a good period for it because you had Return of the Jedi had like finished quite a lot earlier.
Which one's Return of the Jedi? The third one.
That's the third one, yeah.
Right.
And that was like that like ended, and then there was nothing for like quite a long time, and it was kind of sort of thought. I mean, there were like these weird spin-offs and like cartoons and stuff, but we'll get into that later.
See, because I know that there's like, I know bits about Star Wars from people talking about it and stuff, and I know that the first film was Episode 4, and then there was Episode 5 and Episode 6. Was there always supposed to be an Episode 1, 2, and 3? Was that always supposed to be like planned?
Yeah. Well, when the first episode came out, like Episode 4, it wasn't called Episode 4 at that time. It was originally just Star Wars. This was
really?
The thing. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, George Lucas had it in his mind, apparently, that it was originally going to be like a 6 or rather 9-part, like sort of series.
Right.
But the excuse I always heard, I mean, I'm going to get a lot of grief from this podcast because I'm going to get a load of things wrong, most probably. But I'd heard that what had happened was he like had the treatment in his head. He knew what he was going to do with it, but then he said he didn't have the technology to do the first 3 films first. So he started with the most exciting bit and did like 4, 5, and 6. Like was when like everything sort of kicked off and everything. So that was one of the reasons for going for that episode first. And then it was later on they sort of renamed it like Episode 4. And after I think it was after Empire came out, like the second one.
That's really interesting. I did not know that. I had no idea that was the case. So the first film come out when? Like what year? Do you know?
Was it 77? I think. I'll have to check. So again,
look it up if you want. I just want to know when it first one come out. So you would have been about 8 or 9 then, right?
No, I'm not that old. I was not alive when it first came out. It was, yeah.
So do you remember seeing it for the first time?
I do, because I remember seeing it on ITV. Because it was like quite a long time ago. That used to be on at like Christmas times. And
did you know about Star Wars before you watched it on ITV, or was it a Discovery?
Yeah, I was totally aware of it. Yeah, I mean, I was right. It was 1977 was like the original,
right?
And so that's the one that we're going to start with, I think, with this. And I mean,
well, this is it. I mean, when we first like when I first said to you that I kind of want to, it'd be a good idea to just watch them because, I think part of it was probably when the buzz picked up around this one that's coming out in December. Is it coming out? They always come around near Christmas time, don't they?
Yeah, that's the next one, yeah.
And like people were getting so excited and stuff, and I weren't turning my nose up at it. I was just kind of like, oh man, sounds like I'm really missing out, And I've played Star Wars games and stuff, and
See, that's the other thing I wanted to ask you about because I mean, obviously, you must have played like a whole bunch of Star Wars games.
Yeah, God, yeah. I played the one on the Atari 2600, the one where you played with the paddles. It was like Jedi Trainer or some shit. I didn't play anything with like a lot of story in it because I just wouldn't get it. So I played like Pod Racer and I played like some of the Battlefront games because they're mainly multiplayer. And I've always loved the atmosphere and the music and the the sound effects and shit like that. Because basically you pick that stuff up from cultural references rather than having to watch the film to get that. So there was a bit of a connection there.
I mean, didn't you feel like you were missing out on any of like the background context or anything?
No,
from it.
No, because one's a multiplayer game, the other one's a racing game, and the other one was barely a game. So.
The weird thing is for me is that you see, because I like during the 90s, I was still kind of into Star Wars because I'd seen them all and I'd like bought them on VHS and watched them on that. But then like it was the games that kind of sustained my interest in it because it was a really good period like the 90s for PC Star Wars games, and that's what I was into at that time. And one of the reasons why I think Star Wars is a big deal, why people really like it, is because it's like this massive sort of world building kind of thing. There's so many stories that you can tell from it, and that was what the PC games did so well. The console games maybe not so much because they were like really focused on action, but like the PC stuff, like there was like X-Wing and there was TIE Fighter, like where you were like like a Imperial like fighter pilot and stuff, and they all had really good stories. Like they really built on like what was there and fleshed out in the absence of there being any new TV or films or anything.
The Knights of the Old Republic games were meant to be like really good for that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that was BioWare because I know like you played Mass Effect and you didn't think you were going to like it when you played it, and then ended up like loving it. Yeah. And it's like that's because that came from like Knights of the Old Republic, and it was
I know that much. And part of me was like, oh, I would love to play those Knights of the Old Republic games, but it'd be completely lost on me, I think.
Yeah. Although, what was weird about those was they were Star Wars, but they're set like 1,000 years or whatever before all this. So it's like there is like you can kind of go into them cold, and it doesn't really matter like that much. Okay. There's not a lot here, but from this, have you liked any sci-fi though? Like aside from this, is there anything?
Quantum Leap was good. That's sci-fi, right? But do you mean like space sci-fi?
Yeah,
I love like Moon and Interstellar and stuff like that. Yeah, sci-fi. I mean, Back to the Future is technically sci-fi, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's not. Again, it's not like I've avoided that genre either. It's like for example, my favourite type of films are gangster films, right? They always have been, always will be, and it doesn't matter if they're gangster films set in London or New York and what time period, it doesn't matter. Like I love those sort of films. Never seen a Godfather film. You know what I mean? It's one of those. It's just like it's just strange. It feels like I guess there's part of me that's kind of daunted, like feels daunted by it all. Yeah. And it's kind of like, these are the ones to see. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I'll get to them. And I never do.
What's your expectation from this? Like, what are you thinking is going to
genuinely think I'm going to love them. Like, I do. I'm going into this thinking I'm genuinely going to love them. And I'm going to go into it with the right attitude, like remembering, knowing that they're films from the 70s, at least, like the first... three maybe, I don't know. Yeah. From that time period. So if nothing's going to be perfect, and there's going to be some weird stuff in there, I'm sure. And I think what I want to do is get a basic grasp of the concept because we've spoken about Back to the Future quite a bit already, but like you look at the concept of those films, and I love them, bar the third. Like, the first one is like, what would it be like if you could travel back in time and, as a high school student and visit your mum and dad in high school? Like, that's the basic premise. And the way they built on that was superb. And then the second one was like, well, what's the future going to be like? I like boiling stuff down to that simple sort of idea. But I don't know that simple idea on with Star Wars at all. In fact, actually, should I tell you what I do know?
What do you think it is? Can you just tell me what you think it is?
So, well, let me point this out. So things that I definitely know through cultural reference is obviously Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewbacca, C-3PO, all the main ones. I know that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's dad, because that's referenced in fucking Toy Story.
Yeah.
And The Simpsons and all that sort of stuff. I know that there are a rebel force fighting this, I guess, like galaxy police. I guess. Okay. I know that there's I know this, right? There's a Death Star, which is the galaxy police's thing.
Yeah.
And I know that there's another Death Star, and that's quite important, right? Okay. So I know that. I know something about shooting into an exhaust, right? Because that's referenced in a couple of things.
That's in loads of games, yeah.
And I was thinking, if that's how they blow up a Death Star, then I'm not going to be happy with that, because, I mean, come on. Do you know what I mean? But obviously don't spoil anything.
Yeah.
I know that I'm probably going to hate Han Solo, because I think he's a bit of a wise ass. Because, every time I've ever seen sketches, like, he's played as a bit of a wise ass. I think he's friends with Chewbacca. I think they're mates, right?
Yeah.
I have no idea how C-3PO and R2-D2 exist on any level. I don't know how they're part of the story, because I think...
You know what they are?
Well, I know they're robots. Like, you've got the gold one and the little one that beeps, right? I know that. I promise you, James... You don't know what their
function is, yeah?
No, okay. I don't know what their function is. I swear on my life, James, I'm not dicking about here. This is the extent of what I know. I'm not trying to be like, hey, I don't know nothing. These are genuinely just bits that I've picked up. I know Yoda is a Jedi, I think, and teaches Luke Skywalker how to be a Jedi. I think that's right. Yeah. I don't really know what a Jedi is. I don't know if the Jedis are like defenders of something and then they join the rebel force, maybe. I see it as sort of that, like a guy that's like Luke Skywalker's like just a bit of a nobody kid, and then he discovers that he's got these superpowers, which is a Jedi, I guess, and then he joins the rebel force to fight Darth Vader and his gang. But I don't know what they're fighting over, and I don't know. I don't really know the outcome either. Like, I don't. Okay. I'm assuming that there's a good outcome, and the rebel forces will cheer at the end of maybe the third film. But I don't truly know the outcome. I know that Darth Vader's in the third film. I know that Darth Vader's in the third film because that's when the big reveal is, right? And that was spoiled for me by Homer Simpson walking out of that film in the cinema and spoiling it for people in the queue. So that was the first time I remember hearing that. Don't know who Yoda is. Princess Leia, don't really know what how she fits into the equation. I guess she's been stolen by someone. Jabba the Hutt, I know, like, I can see who Jabba the Hutt is, but I don't know if he's like mates with Darth Vader or something. Right. Okay. And I know that the first three films are loved, and the second three films are absolutely despised.
That's boiling it down a bit, because it's not really like that. I don't. Well,
no, but this is the feeling that I've got from people that have talk about these films around me, right? Yeah. I know. I don't. I tell you what, I don't know. I have no idea if people like or dislike the Disney ones. The ones that come after the first six. I genuinely don't know if they've been positive or negative.
Yeah, don't look anything up about that then.
No, I promise you,
that'll be fascinating.
Yeah,
if we, I mean, at the moment, as I understood it, we're going to be looking at like the first 6 basically, and then see where we go from there. I thought was kind of the idea.
Well, I want to watch the newer films as well. I definitely want to watch them.
Because that will be really interesting if you go into those having recently seen these and then what you think of it. Like it'd be really interesting to see what you think of that. I mean, I've like all that you've just told me is honestly fascinating because I mean I'm not going to say anything about whether you're right or wrong about any of that stuff because it's going to be really interesting to see how you react to the way things like go. I mean, is there anything you're expecting to dislike about this apart from Han Solo?
Is there anything I'm expecting to dislike? Jar Jar Binks, I've been told, is a fucking nightmare, and I'm sure I'll hate that when it turns up. I've seen Jar Jar Binks, and I know how it speaks. And right, you can answer me, they're saying a spoiler, so you can answer this one. But does Jar Jar Binks say, is some people going to die at some point?
Yes.
Because that was on South Park, and I remember that people talking about that a lot at the time when that episode aired, and me not really getting it.
Well, I mean, you've heard of the Force, right?
Yeah, so the Force is like a magic power, I guess, where they push people, and doesn't like Darth Vader like chokes one guy without like touching him and that. Yeah.
There's that kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, force push has been like a common phrase in any game or anything now. So, yeah, I kind of get that. I don't know lightsabers. Like, I know lightsabers, but I don't know like what
the point is of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, does anyone get a lightsaber? Is it just Jedis? But then I know that Darth Vader's got one, and is he technically a Jedi? I don't know.
See, these are questions that as I said, I don't want to answer these because I think these are questions that would be good to us to talk about after you've seen the first film, because I think it will probably clear up a lot of these questions you've got. But then
I'm talking basic level here, aren't I?
But then also the other thing that you got to think about with this is that although there's like an overarching sort of like plan for this like trilogy, there are still things which like may not make like complete sense. There is, do you know what I mean? It's like still, but then also the other thing about these films is that they're not like hardcore science fiction. Like they're really not.
No. They're kids' films, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they're kids' films, but they're family entertainment is like the idea. Really, is the way I look at it, and it's like. Yeah, it's not like they're not hard at all to like, understand like what's going on or anything like that. There is like all the lore and all that kind of stuff, that has been sort of written into it by other people over time. And
but I'm not reading any of that shit.
No, so that's why it's best to just go into this as you are, just like take them for what they are. And I don't know. I mean, is there anything you're expecting you are going to like about it though? I mean, I
mean, I love space and stuff like that, right? And I think I'm in the mood currently. I'm not always in the mood, but I am in the mood for a sort of like nobody guy suddenly becoming like really important type film, if you know what I mean. Which is pretty much every film ever made. But like, are there things that I'm really looking forward to? The lightsaber battles. Because I've always wanted to like proper watch what that looks like, because I've seen lightsaber battles in a million things, but never actually seen like what they're based on, like the original stuff.
Just remember that the first film was made in 1977.
God, yeah. I mean, look, I'm going to take that all into account, and the special effects and that are not going to be spot on or whatever. But I've got so my mate Colin. And
that is one of the things about them is that, I mean, I still think the special effects, I mean, you'll come back to me on this maybe, but like I still feel they hold up pretty well, like considering how old it is, because I mean, Colin's probably told you, they invented so many techniques as well making this film. Which
this is the other thing as well. When we first started talking about me doing this, the amount of people that were going, "What version of the first film are you going to watch?"
Yeah. So, what do you want to know about that? Do you want me to tell you about that?
Let me go. Wait there a sec. So, yeah. So in my hands, I've got the pack. My mate Colin gave me these, and I can't thank him enough because they're still quite expensive. I think this pack is like 80, 90 quid.
Yeah.
Or something stupid. So it's the Blu-ray of the first 6 films. Mm-hmm. But it says the complete saga. And it's got a guide to the galaxy in it. What is that? Oh, I don't want to flip through that. No, it's just pictures of stuff that's clearly intended for people that have seen these films. So I won't look through that. Right. So on the disc it just says, oh no, it's fucking hell. That's weird.
What?
The first disc in the pack, it's like a book. And the first disc in the pack is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, well, it would be, wouldn't it? Because they've stuck them in there chronologically.
Yeah, why would they do that? Surely, this is what I don't understand. Like, because people were going, are you going to watch it in the order of episodes, or are you going to watch it as they were released? And I was thinking, surely released, because surely the third one, or the fourth one, Phantom Menace, was made in, like, with the knowledge that the bulk of the audience would have watched the first 3 already.
Yes and no with that, because also, like, the prequel trilogy, like the one, because they came out, the first one was 1999, and that got a lot of, like, young people into it, like, that wouldn't maybe have seen the earlier films, possibly. You can also watch those without knowing what's happened in the original trilogy.
Really? There's no references back to...
Well, no, there's lots of, like, nods to stuff, and because the whole point of them is they explain a lot of the stuff that happens in the later trilogy. Right. But you could totally watch them, like those first, and then the original trilogy. It's totally possible to do that. Okay, yeah,
but I don't want to do that. I want to watch them as they come out.
Yeah.
So the disc that I'm going to watch first has got Star Wars 4, A New Hope. Was it originally just called Star Wars?
Yeah, originally it was just Star Wars. Yeah.
And then they added that. That's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
That they went back and just changed it.
Yeah.
So, going back to my original point, so many people were saying, like, what version of that first film are you going to watch?
Yeah.
And
I know which
and I don't know what version this is.
Do you want me to explain about this? Because I can just briefly give you a thing to explain it.
Yeah, so these are the Blu-rays, by the way, and it's a package called The Complete Saga. So that's the one I've been given. Which is what I wanted as well, because people were going, watch the original DVD. And I was like, mate, I'm not watching the standard definition anymore. I'm above that now. I'm above it, James.
Yeah, that's fine. But no, because, okay, so what this is there was the original trilogy, like, release, like, it was 1977, 1980, and 1983.
Yeah.
And then they released those, they went out into the cinemas, that was fine. But then I think it was around 1998, or maybe even a bit earlier than that, I can't remember it, that's what's off the top of my memory. George Lucas decided to go back to the original 3 films and tweak them a bit.
I wonder why.
Well, you see, his argument, this is also really weird, because he'd been up in front of, like, some Senate committee talking about how films should be left alone, and it's like, people's art and all that kind of thing. But then later on, he's then made other statements saying that films are, like, always, they're never complete, they're always just abandoned, and you have the right to go back and make alterations if you want to. So what he did was he went back with, in fact, actually, I'm probably getting this completely wrong, so I'm looking forward to the abuse. It was after, like, Jurassic Park came out that he saw the visual effects that were from that, and was like, okay, now I can do, like, the Phantom Menace and the prequel trilogy. And then he also decided to use, like, this, like, the CGI and everything to enhance, in inverted commas, the original trilogy, and like to go back and have a look at them. So the, like, episode 4, the one you're about to watch, that's had extra scenes cut into it that were not in the theatrical release.
Right, okay.
And also parts of the film have been modified as well. Like they've changed. There's one bit in particular that when you see it, you'll understand a pop culture reference, like, in a big way, because that was like one of the major modifications that really annoyed a lot of people, because a lot of people were not happy with the modifications, mostly because they don't stand up so well with the CGI, because this is like late 90s CGI, it doesn't really mesh with the original, like, what was there, so it doesn't look so good. But then also parts of the story are also slightly tweaked by this as well, which kind of, like, ruins it a little bit.
Right. Well, we'll talk. Does that crop up in the first film?
Yes, in the first film, you can tell me the bits you'll notice, because definitely you will, because it'll be like.
I don't think I will.
I think you will.
It's weird that you're so confident about that.
Yeah, it's very noticeable because there's an entire extra scene that is added where what had happened was that they'd actually filmed the scene.
Luke Skywalker aged like 20 years.
No, because what happened was they added a scene that was cut from the original theatrical release, and they added some CGI to get around problems with that, and you'll definitely see that and know what it is because it's messed up. But then the trouble is they did this with all three of the films. The episode 5 had like probably the least amount of cuts or changes, but then episode 6 also had like quite big changes made to it, particularly towards the end, which people have upset. And then so now you get people that just say, "Oh, you shouldn't watch those ones. Don't watch those ones. You just need to watch the the original ones and everything." But actually nowadays it's really difficult to find the original cuts. Like it's hard. Like you can download them from the internet or whatever, but like Disney, who now own it, they don't release those films. They only have they were called the special editions. They only have those now, and that's the one you've got. And but I mean, this is why it'd be interesting for you to watch this, and then because you have no knowledge of any of this stuff really.
No.
So, are you going to notice anything jarring, and is it going to bother you? Is the thing?
Okay.
It's I mean, particularly with episode 4, there's this really significant scene that, as I said, is like a massive pop culture thing that you'll get, and then I'd really like to know what you think of what has been done, because it's like the alteration really significantly changes one character.
Okay.
And which is interesting. But yeah.
Well, I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm not gonna force my way through them. When I watch one of these, it's gonna be me sitting down and just settling down and just watching a film. I'll take notes here and there, but I'm gonna try and avoid to do that as much as possible.
Yeah.
But you know what my memory's like, so I'm gonna have to do it. And we'll see where we go. I mean, so my first film that I'm going to watch is going to be Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope.
Yep.
And how many times have you seen this film, do you reckon?
That would be difficult to guess, to be honest. Because
when was the last time you saw it?
Probably about 3 years ago, maybe. I think less than that. Probably about 2 years ago. I mean, I've seen it many, many times.
Have you watched it with your kids?
I've watched it with the kids, yeah.
What did they think?
Well, Asher loves it. Like,
really?
He thought it was brilliant. But then also, he liked the action stuff and all that kind of thing, but then also got bored at certain points as well. So I still think he was a bit young, like, to really watch it.
Cool.
But, yeah. So when are you going to watch it soon, yeah? Is that the plan?
Yeah, it might. Well, it's not going to be tonight because it's getting late. It might be tomorrow night. And then once I'm done, I'll give you a call.
Yeah.
Because it'd be I mean, it's I can't wait to talk to you about it. Really, I really hope I don't hate it, because I totally want to be part of this excitement around Star Wars, like genuinely. I mean, and it feels like I'm missing out, and it seems to tick all the boxes. Like I can't see why I would dislike it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put that pressure on. I mean, subconsciously you don't know what you're doing, but I really don't want to put that pressure on of everyone says this is amazing. I'm totally trying to shed that and scrub that and just go into it thinking it's just a film. And if I enjoy the film, that's great. It doesn't have to be the best thing I've ever seen. It doesn't have to be this mind-blowing experience. It just has to be an enjoyable film to watch. And if it achieves that, then bam. And it doesn't need to do much to achieve that either. If there's good guys versus bad guys and it's entertaining here and there, then I'll be happy. I think it's really just like, just go in there just thinking, see if you can get something out of it, that you think that you can enjoy. And it's I mean, for me with these films, one of the main things I've always loved about them is just like the atmosphere and just this whole idea of it, like this whole other world, that's been created. It's I think the world building, I think, is good in this. I have remembered another thing that I picked up on from pop culture reference, and this was not even pop culture really. It was it was all over the advertising at the Times, because obviously I remember when the first one of the second trilogy, the Phantom Menace come out, and it was just all over. You went to McDonald's and the bloody cups was covered in Darth Maul's face. You know what I mean, and all that sort of stuff. I remember looking at Darth Maul, and I think he was heavily in the initial trailer, right?
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, fuck me, that looks fucking cool. That looks really fucking cool. And then when the reaction happened, because I remember it all blowing up, you know, people hated it from what I could gather anyway. I remember thinking, like, how? Like, I saw that trailer and that looked fucking mental.
Yeah.
Why are people coming out and saying... Because I saw a bit of the pod, like, they use the pod racing stuff to promote it as well, a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that and thinking, that looks fucking mental. Why? Where have they gone wrong? So I'm really looking forward to getting to that point and finding out where they went wrong. And I don't really remember much chatter around the second, like the one after that or the one after that. I don't remember there being too much. I remember actually the third one of that second trilogy. I remember people saying it wasn't great, but at least it tied things together really well.
Yeah, that's kind of the general thing. I mean, from the prequel ones, the second one is the one I hate the most. Absolutely cannot stand that film.
I'll end up loving that one.
Yeah.
No, James, you don't understand the Star Wars. I mean, you know, going through the Star Wars experience, I think maybe you should really look at it again with fresh eyes.
Yeah. I'm going to be watching these as well because I'm going to watch them again as well.
Are you really? You're going to watch through with me?
Yeah, because I want to remember everything, obviously, because, you know, my memory's terrible.
So maybe I should call you once we've both watched it.
Yeah.
So when are you going to get the time to watch this?
I don't know. I could watch it tomorrow, maybe.
Is it that long?
No, they're not that long. It's under 2 hours. It's I don't remember.
Has it got approximate running time of A New Hope is 119 minutes? Yes, just under 2 hours. The longest one by far is... Oh no, yeah, your least favourite, but that's only 6 more minutes, I think. No, 10.
I'll tell you what is also you probably got on that Blu-ray set is there's a documentary about the Phantom Menace on there that after you've done all this,
I've got. So here's what I got.
Amazing.
Bonus disc 1 and 2. New Star Wars Archives content include 45 deleted scenes. I won't watch that. Cast and crew interviews. No chance. Props. This is all nonsense. I ain't going to watch any of that.
Yeah.
In-depth documentaries and featurettes. The Making of Star Wars. The Empire Strikes Back SPFX. Don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Classic Creatures. Return of the Jedi. Anatomy of a Dewback. What the fuck is a Dewback?
Well, you'll find out.
Star Warriors 2007. Star Wars Tech 2007. Conversation with the Masters. Plus over 90 minutes of Star Wars spoofs. Oh my god, that sounds
dreadful. Yeah, but no, there's this really famous documentary of the Phantom Menace, which is like basically like George Lucas when they were making the film, he like filmed like them doing everything, like, and they released it as like a documentary, and it's incredibly candid. Like you'd never get this now, like somebody releasing something which is revealing like basically all the flaws and everything. In the process, it's fascinating. Yeah, it's like this.
I could be wrong here. Didn't they go back and make a major change with that as well? Because wasn't it a weird colour? Like they used.
I've not heard that before.
I'm sure I read an article on one of the films, and I think it was the Phantom Menace, where they originally released it, and it had like a hue to the colour, like the cinematography. It was a certain shade when it originally came out, and they went back and corrected that. But I'm sure people will tweet me about it and stuff.
About that, yeah.
I should probably set up a Twitter account for this, right?
You could do, yeah.
Probably should do. But anyway, I'll watch this film and I'll give you a call after.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be really interesting, especially after all you've said about what you know about it. To see what you think. It's But the first film, just remember, simple. It's very simple. Like
I'm cool with that. I'm genuinely really cool with that. I'm not looking for in-depth, like sort of mind-blowing sci-fi. So I'm good with that. As long as the setting's cool, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Anyway, beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah.
Hey? Do you know what? That's my favourite thing to do because Star Wars fans can't help but correct me, right? But I think after this first film, I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. So I'm getting that one in while I can. Maybe we should do Star Trek. No, we're not doing that.
No, don't do that.
That's your favourite thing ever, isn't it?
It is one of my favourite things.
Oh, before we go, like, you know the whole Star Trek fans versus Star Wars fans stuff?
Yeah.
Are you even, like, interested in that? Like, have you ever fallen on a side? I'm assuming it's Star Trek, but...
Not really, because, I mean, I like both of them. I wouldn't say I like both of them equally. I probably like Star Trek a bit more than I like Star Wars, but Star Trek is a massive monster of a thing, like, compared with Star Wars, in terms of, like, how much content there is. And it's quite difficult to really pin down what Star Trek is compared with what Star Wars is, because there's been so many iterations and changes and all sorts of stuff.
I know way more about Star Trek than I do Star Wars, basically through listening to Howard Stern. He always used to have George Takei on.
Yeah.
And, oh, God, the stories he used to tell about the set of that. It was pretty. Have you heard any of those interviews, James? Because you'd be fascinated about how in one script he was George Takei's character was supposed to be promoted, and then what's his
Shatner
face?
comes along.
Shatner said flat out said no, this is not happening on the show. Like, he was genuinely worried about this character being promoted on a show that he's on because he cared about his rank on the show that much. Like, fucking hell. He's the best. I love George. Right, okay. All right. I'll catch you later. Go and get some sleep, and I'll watch this film eventually.
Cool. All right, catch you later.
See you later, James.
Bye-bye.